We men of Cherokee County find it very difficult to talk about the things we feel most deeply. But on behalf of Virginia Rusk and me and members of our family who are here today, let me begin with a simple word of thanks to you for being here and what you are doing on this occasion. I must confess to a certain twinge when I see my own name on a building while I am still alive. But perhaps Virginia and I have had a little training in preparation for this day. 3 or 4 years ago, a friendly newspaper editor bootlegged to us a long obituary on me, written by one of the wire services and prepositioned among all their member papers. We had a fine evening looking through that and learning some things we had not known before. But I'm particularly grateful that you are adding some good paragraphs to the end of what we read that evening. I shall be brief because this is not an inaugural address. I won't spend very much time, for example, on President Fred Davison and Dean Ralph Beard. They're home folks, and there'll be other chances for that. And I think many people on this campus are aware of the great respect and appreciation that I have for their fine leadership of this university and of this law school. And I know, whether you do or not, that they have invested a great deal of time and imagination and effort into making this center possible. I'd like to say to Dan Hodgson and his trustees of the Loredan's Foundation that I'm deeply grateful for the extraordinarily generous support given to the Samuel H. Sibley Chair of International Law here over these past several years. These have been among the happiest years of our lives, and we appreciate it, sir, as well as for the support to the John A. Sibley Lectures, which just yesterday gave us a splendid lecture by the Bemis Professor of International Law at Harvard, Dr. Louis Sohn, who's here with us today. It's a very great pleasure to have George Ball here. As he suggested, for many years he was my alter ego in every sense of the word. And when I had to go away, I was very comfortable about leaving all pending business in his hands, while I could deal only with those matters on which I was traveling. I was about to refer to him as my conscience, but that would suggest that somehow he was responsible for everything that I did, and I would not wish to inflict that upon him. But he was also a teacher, because there were a good many fields of public policy where he was far more expert and seasoned than was I. He earned the respect and the affection of 2 presidents and his Secretary of State because he was honest enough and courageous enough to disagree with us when he felt disagreement. Almost alone among the high officials of government in those years, you will be surprised to hear. And we need more people like that in public life. Mrs. Rusk and I were especially happy that Mrs. Lady Bird Johnson could be here today. What can one say about this remarkable woman? A spontaneous but kindly sense of humor, a deep compassion for those who are imprisoned in situations or circumstances which they themselves cannot affect, a dedicated concern for the quality of life for all of our people, and an abiding faith that somehow, if we consult our hope and our confidence and not our fears, that somehow we can put things right. Truly a great American of our day. Thank you for coming. Governor Busbee, your remarks are a charge to our center. I wish that more of our Georgians fully understood the thought and imagination and time and energy which our governor has given to trying to strengthen the economy of this state and of this region, working beyond the call of duty both at home and in foreign countries. He is aware that this corner of the country is a corner of almost inevitable growth, and senses the urgency of a greater and greater involvement of Georgia in international trade and investment. He's just become head of the Southern Growth Policies Board at the request of his fellow governors, a fine choice for them to make, and his impact will be felt throughout this Southeast. We here at the center feel that given the prospects for the future ahead, that we have an obligation to be of more help than we have been in the past to the bar, to business, to agriculture, in helping them to understand more promptly and more simply what otherwise appears to be a rather mysterious business, that is, international trade, finance, investment, reverse investment. At the present time, Professor Husak and I, with the assistance of some talented students from the law school and business and political science, are in a study of the self-imposed limitations upon our competitive position abroad as far as our exports are concerned. President Carter has reminded us that we shall be paying $45 billion for oil this year, and that our balance of trade deficit will be something on the range of $30 billion. Now, this is true of a good many other countries, industrialized countries, who are also importing oil. And there's no way that all of those industrialized countries as a group can earn that additional foreign exchange at the expense of the third world or of the communist world. And so tough and far-reaching drastic measures will have to be taken in the direction of conservation. But one effect of this situation will be that oil-importing countries are going to be making a very special effort to improve their competitive position in world markets. And unless we ourselves look to our own competitive position, we might very well fall behind. And high officials of our own government are even now saying privately that this $30 billion deficit we have this year will be exceeded easily next year. And so we want to find out whether such things as tax policy and antitrust policy and procedures and documentation and all sorts of other things have adequately taken into account the increasing urgency of earning our way more adequately through the export of goods and services. We're in the midst of profound changes in the law of the sea. Whether or not by international agreement or by increasing unilateral action by the nations of the world, comparable to our recent 200-mile fishing limit here in the United States. We felt that somebody ought to take a look at these developments from the point of view of an individual state within the federal union. Because as these matters evolve, there will be very large implications not only for the coastal states of our Union, but for the landlocked states. I had to disqualify myself from such a study because by instinct and experience, I'm a federal man. And we're very fortunate that we have one of our most distinguished graduates of our law school, now professor of law at Rutgers, Mr. Milner Ball, who is in midstream in working on these matters along with the attorneys general of this southern part of the country. Our colleague, Mr. Gabriel Wilner, will be returning from Geneva after an intensive year in working on behalf of the United Nations in the field of transfer of technology, and will come back here one of the world's authentic experts in that very important field. So there are many things to be done. We will need the help of other parts of the university, and we will need a good deal of dedication. So Governor, Chancellor Simpson, President Davis, and Dean Beard, our task in the center now is to prove that we are worthy of the confidence and the hope which you have expressed here today, and to make our work of such a quality as to be a genuine contribution to Georgia, to the bar, to business, to agriculture, to all those who seek our help. My special thanks to my colleagues on the faculty and most of all to 8 classes of students with whom I have had the privilege of associating thus far. They are the ones who rejuvenate one every day, but they're also the ones who build one's confidence in the future. Because if that is the bunch that is having to make decisions about what happens in the next few decades, quite frankly, I would rest with that. But as the years go on and successors come and other colleagues work at our problems, I personally hope that this center will be what Raymond Fosdick once called one of the infinity of threads that bind peace together. Thank you for coming.